The memories you make beat the money that you spend. Hope this night it never end. Get it going, no time for waiting. Just ignore it, no time for haters. Pray tomorrow, embrace temptation. Throw your cap like you graduating. Tell the driver you're glad you made it. Camera phones got you feeling famous. So much flash, we're illuminating the dark room in our hearts too. Yeah,
man, so we here. And this one, we're really gonna focus on the mental, exactly what we talked about. So, obviously it's called Money on the Rocks. We're gonna focus on behind the scenes, but we're really gonna focus on like the work that it takes mentally, emotionally. So when, you know, you have the success that you're looking to get, how to deal with that, because obviously people say success is a drug, right? It could be, when you have it, it could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing. When you don't have it, it could also be a good thing or a bad thing. It all depends on how you use it. So, yeah, man, that's what I think we should give the people, and be as authentic as possible, and have fun with it. So, that being said, man, just want to introduce you to the people, the Alchemist. Well, you know, when you hear that name, we really want to think about, you know, just the mental, you know, just the self, the higher self, and you're a mental coach. You've dealt with a bunch of clients in different industries and helping them with, you know, personalized relationships and things of that nature. So that being said, you know, before I jump into it, man, is there anything that the people don't know about you that, you know, you want to let them know?
First off, man, congratulations, man. This is an incredible platform, man. It's an honor and pleasure to be here. You know, we had a pleasure to be able to work with each other
before, yes.
And it's you know, just watching the transition. It's the irony. It's like, you know what it is to work with me firsthand. You know, so you know, myself being an entrepreneur and starting in the entrepreneur world by myself. I mean, on my own from a young child, from a young teenager up until now. It's like playing sports. Right. You know, a lot of people that are great coaches, they were once players. But for me, the journey never ends. You know, I'm still in the field, but you could also coach while it's realizing that life is a journey. Yeah. And success is what you make it. Success is relative, you know. What's success to one person may not be the next. So I think that's what the journey taught me, is realizing that we're gonna go on this journey, but the most important part is to understand who you are. If you don't know knowledge of self, you don't know who you are at the core, you're not going to be able to chase that success. Success can become a drug if you don't use it the right way. Like anything else, like if it's used the right way, you know what success means to you, then you're able to keep your focus on what it is that you're going after. And for me, that's what put me on the right path, was being able to connect to the higher self. Because when you ask who you are, you know, we're born into this, you know, we don't have a lot of things that we control. The families we're born into, the names we were given, the society that we live in, you know, the religions that, you know, the faith that we give. These are the things that are, they're there, and they shape a lot of who we think we are. Yeah. But when you take off all of those labels, the name, and you go deeper, and I ask you, who are you? That's where it starts to get a little fuzzy. You know, if you say, I'm a doctor, no, that's what you do. That's not who you are. If you think success is that, then you'll only hold yourself towards that. Or an athlete that says, I'm a football player. Like, that's something that you do. And we hear about athletes that once they retire, they all of a sudden feel that they lose it. Empty. Because they thought that that's who they were. So, you know, the journey was really about learning who I am. And then once I learned who I am, I become authentic in who I am, then I can allow that to unfold into whatever I do. Yeah. You know, whether it is, you know, creating a business or working with somebody or working with somebody else, I know what it is to be in that position. So the alchemy part allows people to realize, like, it's a process that we have to continually go through, and it's an internal thing. It's not something that's outside of you. A lot of the work that when I talk about alchemy, it's about transmuting from a lower state into a higher state, or transmuting something of lower substance, or a lower thought, and transmuting into a higher thought. And when we tap into this conversation, it's really going to talk about all mental. Because you know, it's a mentality. The universe is mental. That's actually what a universal law is called, is mentalism. And if you understand that, how you think is ultimately what you're going to create. So how you talk to yourself, these are all things that are tied into your mental.
Nah, man, thank you for that. Super thorough. And I agree with you, man. And like you said, it's a work from the inside that is continuous. Like it's something that you got to do every single day. And like you said, we're born into certain things that we can control. I think for me, I feel like over the past couple months, I feel like I've learned like a lot of things that society deems as normal.
Right.
We take that into our own lives and try to make it normal. Whereas if you look deeper, you could actually find who you really are. So is there anything specific I would say, because we can't control what happens to us, a lot of things that we can control, but I would say when certain things happen, you could control how to react to it though. So my question for you is, before this journey, is there anything, you know, that you would say, anything personal that happened that made you say, you know what, yo, I'm cool off of this. Let me, you know, look into myself, find out who I am, and live in a different light.
Well, one thing about me I realize is that I've always been in tune with certain things, and I've always followed that inner voice. So just to bring you just backstory before I got here, you know, I became a nightclub promoter when I was 19, 18. So, you know, I went from that to...
Didn't even drink.
Yeah, it was a great life. You talking about you're making a lot of money, especially this is before the recession hit. I was on payroll for, you know, one of the biggest nightclubs in Manhattan, and I was bringing in good money. You know, you're talking about finally being 21 years old, and now you're one of the top promoters, and then, you know, you have access to all the clubs, all the celebrities there. People are reaching out to you, and then you realize once again, this is I chose that, right? But people are reaching out to me because of what I can do, you know.
Yeah.
And if you see your value in that, and once again, if people are reaching out, Cole, where's the party? Cole, where's the party at? Yo, I'm hitting that. Then I'm realizing like, yo, listen, I don't want to be just known as a party promoter. But that was a realization that, you know, I'm the one that is controlling this. So once all the clubs started shutting down and everything started happening, we threw one of our biggest parties. The club went bankrupt. They couldn't even pay us out. There was nothing that we could do about it.
That's wild.
And then I realized, like, once again, things that are out of your control. I didn't have control of, you know, them deciding that they no longer wanted 27th Street to be a club thing. They wanted to start building, you know, apartment buildings. But the reality is that, you know, that's not sustainable, you know. So I had the ability to realize, like, this is not something that I wanted to continue to do. And that led me into a place of taking that network that I built and saying, okay, how can I pivot it into real estate or things of that nature? And that's where it led me on the entrepreneurial route. But ultimately, the biggest thing that made me shift is death, which is the one thing that we have no control of. Experiencing death, I lost my aunt early. I lost a godson at 8 years old.
Damn.
Yeah, within a matter of like 4 years. And it was through the realization that life is not promised. And that's where I started to really seek God, you know, because I was living my own world. Everything is going well in my own life personally, but when you see your family members, you know, fall,
Lifeless.
it's hard. And then you start to really question, like, okay, you know, there's more to this. And if I'm not paying attention to this, and I'm not taking advantage of the time to spend with family and loved ones, and I'm just chasing my own endeavors, what is life really about? So it was realizing that life is precious, and it was through the process of, you know, going through those dark times. And that's what death is there for, is for the people that are surviving to realize what is it that you're supposed to be learning on this journey. So it was really ultimately through death and experiencing death in the family, and then realizing like there's more to this, and I need to connect and seek that source. And that's where the spiritual path led me. Is, you know, I started in the church because we grew up Catholic,
right?
But growing up Catholic it's a very religious, dogmatic thing. And then we really started to tap into the Bible. And when I really started to tap into the Bible, that's where I really started to build a full, authentic relationship with God. Now I understood what the attributes of God was. I understood what Christ was. I understood what the Trinity was. And then meditation was the one that put it all together. It allowed me to start to really connect with my higher self and apply the teachings in the book. Because if you read the book, it's very difficult to comprehend, allegorical symbols and things of that nature.
Yeah.
But you have to really understand that there's symbols and stories for you to learn that this is your story. You all ultimately have the ability to transform your life. If you seek God first, then everything else will fall upon you. But these are just, once again, principles that it speaks out through the life. And now I've learned to just really bring my whole life all together and allow it to just walk in my path.
No, that's solid, man, because like, and I'm, like what you said, is, you know, using depth to allow you to see, like, there's something bigger than this. And because recently it's a few things that I've been realizing that's like, you know, you don't have to be in certain situations, you know, if you don't want to. You could take yourself out of that situation. You know, you don't have to stay in it because at this moment that's what feels right.
Right.
Because it's something bigger than that, right? And you have to really look inside to allow you to figure that out. Recently, I went to visit a family member, just a side story, and it was at a nursing home, and I walked in. He was in a lounge area. You know, you had all the older folks around there with, you know, different type of disabilities, you know, dementia, Alzheimer's and stuff like that. And it was just like, it was a realization, like, and I've been in that space before, but I wasn't as aware now than I was then. So I walked in, I'm like, damn, like, life is so much bigger than the day-to-day stuff. Like, it's like, if you're not here to really seek and you know, be your best self, and I'm not just talking like success, like monetary, physical stuff, I'm talking like inside, deep down, and actually being happy, where even if you don't have these things, you can still be happy. It's like, you know, you're wasting time. You're really wasting time, because time passes, and you eventually gonna get to a space. It's gonna be like, damn, like, what did I live life? Did I enjoy life the way I really wanted, you know, to? Did I do everything that I really wanted to? Was I living because, you know, of somebody else's idea or something like that? And that's something I've learned recently. So just to dive into that, the work that's done behind the scene, day to day, that helps overcome certain things. So when we talk about success, we talk about money, we talk about mental health. I feel like those three things are very important. They're all tied into each other. Right. So talk to me regarding that, man. Like, when we talk success, personally, I feel like a lot of people talk about what you have, the physical, the monetary value, but what would you say on the higher self side, like the alchemy? Like, what does success mean to that?
Right. I think, you know, I think the greatest thing is for people to be able to separate is that we all have an ego. You know, naturally, if you're in a human body, you naturally have an ego. That's natural. Okay. I call that the lower self. Like, we have a smaller version of self, and then there's a grander version of self, which is completely connected to God. That is the place that we are seeking to connect with. Because with that, once you're connected to that, then you can understand how to walk in your divine path that was created for you. We're all uniquely created. We all have. No one's gonna walk the same path. And I think that's the greatest thing, that you realize. We have these people that we idolize, what they call idols, which we're told not to do, you know, if you understand in the book, because you have to realize, like, your walk is your walk. Your walk is not going to look like the next person's walk. You know, Michael Jordan's walk is not Kobe Bryant's walk. Even though he may have looked up to him in various ways, their lives went two separate ways. And it's realizing that you can be inspired by somebody, but ultimately you have to realize, like, this is your walk. No one else can really help you find that. So that's the greatest part. You know, the second piece of what you brought up is,
I was saying, so we have the mental health component.
Right.
For me, I feel like that should be above the monetary value, and things like that, because you may have the money, and we've seen it. Like, we've seen the most famous, high net worth, like, commit, you know, suicide, or, you know, they're not right, and, you know, mentally, but they have the monetary value. They have what everybody really wants to get, right? So, and it's like, when we're looking at that, for me, I think mental health should be at the top of that. So, as far as managing success goes, right? When you have the money, when you have all the things that you want, like, what are some things that you would say on a mental aspect that you have to do to not let that consume you and make you, I would say, deviate from, you know, what you really want versus what the world's telling you?
Got it. It's all going to tie back to knowledge of self. Who are you? If you understand who you are, you'll understand what success actually is. Like you said, a lot of these people, they were chasing something, and they thought that would bring them success. And ultimately, it was probably their ego, once again, the lower self, that was chasing that thing. You know, that's a part of us. We all have our own ambitions, and then sometimes we get blinded by our own ambitions and not realizing that there is, you know, a lot of times we just get into this realization like it's me, 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 not realizing there's a whole world that's functioning. And a lot of times you're stepping into industries that you have no control of. You know, we've seen Hollywood and everything that's taking place with Hollywood, and a lot of people have their success and then all of a sudden fall and their demise happens. It's because you're not realizing that your success wasn't tied to whatever you were chasing. And I think that's the part when people get in, they find that place where they're no longer happy because it's no longer their passion anymore. It now becomes a job or a business now, and now you lost really the thing that drove you to to that position. So I think once you understand who you are in that place, then you're able to manage the success. And when the money comes and all those things, it doesn't shake you because you understood who you were before it happened.
Yeah.
I had when I was, you know, and I saw the most money on my time, I blew through it. And you hear it because you didn't have the mindset wealth is a mindset. And once you understand you bring the mindset to everything that you do, you can allow it to show through all that you do. It no longer becomes this thing of like, I'm thinking, oh, I gotta go get this chain because I want people to look at me. You know, these are things like it's what we think that is success, but that's not success. There's no success in the material things because you can't take it with you. No matter what, like you say, all you could take is really your legacy as far as what people say about you. When you're no longer here is what are people going to say about you? Do you want it just to be like, oh, he was a great actor, or you want it to be like, you know, when we look at people like Denzel Washington, you know that he's a great, amazing person, and he can still act, but he never loses who he is.
Right.
He always keeps his character, and I think that's what's going to separate the good from the greats. Those that understand authentically who they are at the core. And then from there, the success, no matter what success you happen, none of that can change you because you understood who you were at the core internally. But ultimately, it's the mindset. It's the mentality of saying, what is success to me? And if someone says, yo, I just want to be a multi-billionaire, if that's it, that's very just on the surface. Like, what else? How else does that look? And that's why I ask people to go a little deeper. Like, how does that affect other people? Are you seeing how, you know, I want to be able to employ hundreds of people, give them the opportunity to take care of their families. Go deeper. Let's not just keep it on the surface, you know. You gotta, when you want to bring these things into fruition, you have to be more direct and make sure that it ties into something way greater than yourself. Yeah. And that requires you taking yourself out of that ego space and transcending into that divine space where you see yourself as each and every individual plays a piece in this. And that's how it's a mindset. That's for me. I don't look at any person as less than. I see if you are here, you are created by the divine. Yeah. The fact that we're able to experience each other is a gift, and that's what life is about. The school of life is to meet these individuals, build these relationships, build these connections so that we can ultimately help each other on this journey. You can't do it by yourself. Jesus didn't do it by himself. You know, these symbols are there to help you realize that he needed disciples and people to go share the message and things of that nature. So if he can't do it by himself, what makes you think that you can? And that was the realization that I controlled the people that I hung around, the people I chose to deal with.
What you consumed.
What I consumed, all of that was mental. Was saying, okay, let me fast. Let me now, you know, let me go through a fasting process where I'm no longer eating for a certain period of time. Let me starve the ego that wants to eat all the time. Let me go into meditation, let me go into prayer. This is all work that requires you to build that mindset, that mental strength to be able to push through whatever life throws at you. Yeah. Because you're gonna get tested in life. Life is gonna have its valleys and its peaks, but ultimately what you could take with you is your mindset through it all. Like you said, that awareness that allows you to step into that room and see things completely from a different perspective. One person could walk in and, you know, they walked in like, oh, I just want a place of old people. You know, let me get out of here. But you're sitting there, you're taking a whole different perspective, and you take so much more meat from that, as opposed to the person that doesn't have the level of awareness. They're just in their world. That's what it's about. It's about constantly elevating and constantly seeing a higher perspective and constantly challenging yourself to say, I could be better. I could do better. If you want to cap yourself, you can cap yourself. You say, I'm good as I am. I got my 3 PhDs. Nobody could tell me nothing. And okay, cool. You choosing to put a cap on it. But a wise man knows he knows nothing at all. You know, and then that's the realization is that, You don't know what you don't know. And on the path, I realized a lot of things that I was taught wasn't actually my truth. You know, that might be someone else's truth.
Somebody else's truth.
But it's not the ultimate truth. And that's what we should be really seeking, is that ultimate truth. And that could only be internally. You could only find that within yourself.
Yeah. Actually, a book I'm reading right now, Laws of Human Nature, and I was reading it read it every day, but yesterday was reading it, and it was just saying, like, you know, strength is really finding what you really want to do in life, not what like your parents might have for you, your friends might, you know, think is best or something like that. So that goes back to say, like, just being aware and knowing what you really want. Because like you said, you could say, yo, I want to be a billionaire and just leave it at that. And when we're really looking at it, a lot of people on that path screw over a lot of people to get there, right? But when we're looking at the other side of it, it's like, I could also do it the right way, where I could bring value. I could hire people, I could do this, I could do that. Which goes to my next point, and practicing healthy habits to help us kind of discover like a higher self. We talked about this offline, like meditation, breathing, all these things that I would say is overlooked in our community, because we consume so many different things, social media, TVs, and all these things, and those other things that brings tremendous value that people are not doing every day, that people overlook, but behind the scenes in the background when you do it allows you not just to get a higher sense of self, but also those things really lead to the next level. It could really help you achieve the goals that you're really looking to accomplish.
Absolutely.
So talk to me about that, man. Some of the different practices that you would say are good for the mental, you know, that could help you elevate not just yourself, but also make sure you're in a clear space for when you step in a meeting, you know how to close a deal.
Absolutely.
When you step in a space, you know, you don't belong here, you know, you step away. So yeah, man, elaborate on that for us.
Yeah, I call them the tools, man. Meditation, breath work, and your diet are probably the three main things that are essential to building your mindset. Breath work is one. We're constantly breathing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I lead people through just any meditation. I'll start with breath work. Breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. We have so much carbon dioxide within the body. When we really start to bring this new energy and supply, it allows us to release what no longer serves us. Too often we wait till we're stressed, and then it's like, you let the big sigh out, you know, and it's like, that's your body asking you to, like, bring some new air in. Like, I need that. Like, you're suffocating me. But we get so used to holding on to it through stressful moments and things of that nature. But it goes as deep. When you study etymology, you study the Bible, it says the Ruach HaKodesh, which is the Holy Spirit, which is tied to the breath. So when they say God breathed life into man, your breath is tied to spirit. And that's the deeper sense of it, is when you're starting to really bring this new supply of energy, you're resetting the body so that you could cleanse out. It's also alkalizing the blood. This is a science that, you know, all the tests have already proven, and the whole meditation place is to bring you all to the present moment. Meditation means to bring all awareness to the present now moment. And when you're able to do that, you're able to build a certain focus. And anybody that wants to reach real success has to be focused. And if you want to continue to learn how to focus your mind, you have to learn how to sit still. That's one of the hardest things for people to do. Like you said, we have so many distractions between social media, TV, friends, family, you know, birthdays, outside, you know, it's about to get nice outside, you know, it's so many things that can take your focus off. But when you learn to really control this now moment, which is all that we have, all we ever have is this now moment. When we think about the past, it happened in the now. And we're thinking about the future, it doesn't exist. It will only happen in this now present moment. So that's what meditation allows you to realize, is that this now moment is all that you have. And if you want to really be able to bring things into existence, you have to be able to learn how to harness and channel this now moment. And then our last piece, like I said, is learning to control what you put in your mouth. Sure. That is the toughest, it's the hardest piece of self-mastery, is learning to control what you put in your mouth. Because once again, we grew up in a society where, we grew up off the McDonald's and the fast food and all these junk places. Now Chick-fil-A is the hottest thing out. Now it's like you realize what's inside of it. I can go do the research. I can go look into that. It's like, okay, there's nothing wrong with having it here and there, but I'm not going to have that several times a week. And then the fasting piece is like, once again, is learning to starve yourself and then bringing in foods that actually are going to feed you, not bring you down. Obviously, controlling the alcohol intake and all these things are pieces of it. But ultimately, when you're building a lifestyle, you want to build a lifestyle that you can show up every day and feel comfortable. That's going to actually bring your frequency higher. A lot of these things that I'm talking about bring your frequency lower. You want to go to sleep, you get the itis and all that stuff. And
you feel it too.
You feel it.
Like
you feel it.
You'll drink and, your mental switches. You went from a happy mood, now you start contemplating and start thinking about all the decisions.
Takes you like 24 hours for you to get back.
And then, you wake up, you gotta, rehydrate yourself and stuff like that. That clearly tells you that's not something that's good for your body. And I have, personal experiences when it comes to these things. I've cut out alcohol completely. Like over the past 8-9 months, no alcohol.
That's huge.
And it was just like, I had a thing where I would drink. By the second drink, I started thinking about all the past mistakes that I've ever made, and it would just bring me lower. Like I'm like, start beating myself up.
Yeah.
And that goes back to like the breathing, understanding yourself, and understanding like how you feel when, whether you're eating something, you're in a certain space, you're around certain people, like the body, like you said, like it tells you, right? So, especially on the journey, man, because it's easy to get distracted, like you said. My line of work, I have to be outside. Yep. Certain people's line of work, they have to be outside.
Yeah.
You have to have like a drink in your hand just to walk around, shake hands, and kiss babies. And at one point, it can become a norm. But the reality is like, I could go to a spot and not have to drink and just drink water the whole time. That don't change. Why? It's not going to change how I talk. It's not going to change me closing the deal.
It's powerful.
You know what I mean? So
a lot of people can't do that, man.
Yeah.
It's just, you just get succumb to the whole environment. And the fact that you're able to do that shows like your focus. And I've witnessed it, just over this amount of time, man. Cause
appreciate you.
It's huge, man. And that's what's going to allow things to, once you start to take your power back, and like you said, paying attention to it, it could even show up in the way your stool looks the next day. It's like all of a sudden, like, obviously your body didn't like what you had the day before. So you got to pay attention. That's what the awareness is for. It's to be able to see things that you didn't see before. So it's like, okay, I don't have to repeat this. That's what the journey is for. The more awareness you have, the more you're able to take full advantage of the now moment. You're able to seize this moment now, because it's like, okay, last time, okay, that deal didn't go through. This is the mistake I made. I may have left this out. Now it's like, okay, let me make sure that I add this part in, and that's going to make sure I get the deal. Because you now have more information from this past moment.
No, that makes sense. Let's dive deeper a little bit, because we talk about breathing, meditation. So somebody that wants to start getting into it, like, what would you recommend? Frequency, the amount of time, like how long should I meditate, for the day? And sometimes you don't even, we live in a fast-paced world where we always got to be on the go.
Yeah.
For me, sometimes I've done something for like 10 minutes and just dip out. And sometimes 45 minutes, hour. So what would you say, like, somebody that's looking to kind of find themselves and understanding, the higher self, and really be tuned in into that, into themselves, and kind of have a better understanding? What would you say that frequency or the practice of meditation should be like?
Well, I say you start with the breath work. There's so many tools out there. I've mentioned there's something called the breath work app, which will lead you through it. But the time, 5 minutes. Start small. Set yourself up. It's all about knowing yourself. That's a big part of yourself. People like, I know I'm not going to do that. So if let me give myself 3 minutes. What does it cost me 3 minutes to just sit in stillness and just breathe? Let me just sit with myself. Start with that, and then incrementally push yourself. It's like working out. No one's gonna go into the gym and be able to just do, just max out. Like that's a terrible recipe, for failure. It's not gonna help you, and it's not gonna help you. So if you really want to do it, just start slow, start incrementally, and just start from 5 to 10 minutes. I mean, we have YouTube. There's so much information out there. You can just do a walkthrough, a guided meditation walkthrough. Or you can hit up one of your coaches. Hit me up. You know, I could lead you through a meditation. You listen. This is just a part of the work that's done. Sometimes you need a guide the same way you're going to need a trainer.
Yeah.
You know, you're not going to be able to reach that. And that's the part of guiding somebody through a meditation space, is to get them to the place where they can transcend thought. We got this monkey brain that's constantly thinking over 15,000 thoughts a day. So you want to slow it all down and bring yourself into this present moment. So you may need that guide, but what I say is that your breath is your greatest guide. Your breath is always there. So if you can just sit with yourself and breathing and seeing, like, how do you feel? Do I feel calmer? Pay attention to these things and really just start to ask yourself, yeah, I like this. I'm gonna start doing this, implementing this, you know, every day before I start, you know? Or if I'm in the car before I go to work and I have these coworkers that I know I can't stand, let me get my energy right, let me get in my zen, let me find my peace, and stay there. And the more that you're able to realize, like, you control that. You can't control the things outside of you, but you control, like you said earlier, is how you respond to these things. And that's where you realize where your power is. You know, you can't say, oh, this person got on my nerves. Well, don't let them. You don't have to let people get on. It's a choice. You don't. So if people have that much power over you, then you're essentially a slave to them.
Yeah. And we talked about this, like, in our community, this happens, I feel like, in general, but in our community specifically, like, something you said to me was once, like, a lot of our people are in the grave or behind bars because they did not know how to control their emotions. Somebody got on my nerve. What I do, commit an act of violence, right? And then now you're in a cell sitting and just thinking, or worse, you may not even, you know, be alive anymore. So just having an understanding that, like, goes back to, like, having an understanding of, yo, somebody could say something to me, I can't control what they say, but I can control how I react to it. Right. I could control how I respond to it. I could let it rock and walk away. You got it. Right. Or I could do something about it, and, you know, and kind of throw our lives away. So for the young people or whoever's watching this, like, don't gotta let somebody, you know, get on your nerves and just throw your life away for it.
Yeah, no, listen, there's going to be people that want to see you fall, and they will do anything to see that happen. Even if it may to try to poke at you, entice you, but real power and that real strength is to be able to, you know, not allow those things to affect you. And that's a reality. A majority of the people that are incarcerated is because they allowed their emotions to get the best of them in that moment, and they did something that they're now in a place of regretting. So we hear the story over and over. You don't have to become that statistic anymore. You could really start to realize, like, oh, I could control my emotions. You know, your emotions are there. You know, it's energy. They call emotions energy in motion. So if you want to understand, you know, a part of it, something can trigger you, but it doesn't mean that it has to make you go someplace. That could be something deep rooted, and that goes into a deeper conversation of realizing, like, a lot of the things that we experiences, you know, our environment, subconsciously, it may arise, and that a lot of times I say it's a good thing. That's a trigger. Yeah. You can choose to work on that trigger though. You don't have to sit there and say, oh, you know, these are things that. So these are indications that you have to really realize. It's like you no longer want to have these things have a certain type of power or control over you. So you can choose to run away from it, run away from it, or run towards it. And it's like that bully, as they say. If you want to conquer it, just run towards it and then knock it over, because, you know, everything that you're looking for is on the other side of fear. And a lot of the times we allow fear to control a lot of how we move. And fear and love can't exist in the same space. So you want to get rid of that, because that's an energy and a frequency that keeps a lot of our people stagnant, is the fear of failure, the fear of not being accepted, the fear, once again, all of it is about what's happening outside of you and not realizing, like, no, this is your journey.
It's
only you
voice.
know. Yeah, you can trust that higher voice. You know that lower voice that's speaking in that negative direction. Oh, you should go do that. He just disrespected you. Now, and it's like, or you could be like, you know what? I'll allow, you know, God to handle that. I'll allow the universe to handle him. You know, it's above me. You know, I know I'm walking in my right steps if that's how that person wants to move, or this person may have, you know, slighted me on a deal or something of that nature. All these things happen, personally in my life. But it's not something I see it as a gift, because it's like, okay, now I know where to place you. I no longer have to do business with you anymore. I know I could just leave you there. Now I know how you move. Now when success comes down the line, I know it saved myself, instead of a few $100, I saved myself a few million.
Right.
You know, so these are the things that you realize, is that, you know, not one person has a certain level of control over your life. You have the ability to decide what you do and how you move based off of your mindset. If you don't like the frequency, it's as simple as changing the channel. If you do not like the energy or the things that are around you, you have the ability to say, I can change this by changing my mindset, changing my, you know, seeing if I want to seek a different crowd, or I want to associate myself with people that are actually doing things greater. I can change that. I don't have to stay on the block with the dudes in front of the, you know, in the building. You know, nothing against that, because it's a time and a place. Because I love chilling on the block, you know, with my people, but I'm not going to spend my life there. You can't. That's not it. So it's about realizing there's levels to life, and it's up to you to seek those levels. If you want to, you know, seek a higher level, change the channel and understand what is it that you need to get to that level. What is it, the environment, what is it that you need to consume that's gonna help you get to those levels. Let me turn off the TV and the reality TV. Let me find a good book. Let me find a good podcast. Let me start to associate. Take
some air.
Exactly. These are lifestyle choices about what we do. Everything that we choose to do with this present now moment ultimately is going to decide what our future looks like, what we're gonna manifest in the next moment.
Yeah, just before we transition into the final component, it's like, I had a few personal things happen over the past couple of months, but one of the biggest things was, so I had this one thing that used to bother me. It would be out of nowhere on this road to chasing money. There was a time I was like, yo, I gotta chase money, because it wasn't even about how it made me feel. Because if I was being totally transparent, like, I would get the bread, but I would still feel empty, right? But I was so locked in, get money, because, you know, immigrant, we came from poverty, so, you know, came here and started struggling. It was like, yo, I want to make sure I put, not even myself, my people, my mother in a place where she never has to really like struggle and stuff like that. So my thing was always get money. And in that journey, you know, I started to let go of certain things. Like I started to look at other things more valuable, like materialistic things, and start adding, you know, a lot more value. So I got to a point where I used to have this thing. It would happen every couple of months. I couldn't breathe, like super, like chest super tight, couldn't breathe, and I would have to go to the hospital every time for the same thing. So I would come in, they would already know what I'm in the ER for, right? And we could never figure out what it was. Like, we spent like 3 years, best doctors, like, we couldn't figure out what it was. And then it got to a point where the doctor was like, yo, you know, how's your work-life balance? Are you chilling, or is it you always on the go? And at first I wasn't honest, but I was honest with that. And then he was like, yo, this is not, we did all the tests we could have done. We did everything under the sun. It was just like, this is anxiety. You just on the chase too much. Like, yo, bring yourself back a little bit. Take some action to make yourself better. And it was just like, all right, cool. Like, but when I started focusing on the breathing and meditation, like, if I have a old thought that might come my way, I simply step outside and just walk and breathe for like 15 minutes. And it's like the air you breathe feels different because you value it way more. You value it differently. Like you said, you might walk in a room and it's just, you might just walk outside, it's just, oh, I'm breathing. I do this shit every day.
Yeah.
But for somebody else, I might take a walk and it's like calming the body down, like I'm relaxing, and then by the time you get back, your thoughts, you know, all clear. So that's something I wanted to kind of share, just to show how important it is, the work that people don't see. Like, people will see your cars, see the money, but behind the scene, like, you know, the work that you're doing is what allows you to kind of get all these things, and you know, still be happy in the process. So before we wrap up, man, this is the empowering segment. Got a couple of cards here. This time, man, I'm gonna let you pick one. You're gonna let me know what the question is, man, and you're gonna, you know, leave the people with a gem. So
What is my worst fear? How does it limit my possibilities in life?
And for that one, you could just acknowledge like fears as a whole, and you know how it limits possibilities. Yeah. How you deal with that.
No, this is a big one right here, man. It's like, yeah, I don't fear anything anymore, man. I don't fear nothing. That's the greatest thing. It's like death was, you know, as a kid, it's funny because I used to say the only thing I would fear is my loved ones dying. And guess what life brought me? My loved ones dying. And then it was really realizing like you can allow this to continue to take you into a deeper hole, or realize like there's something greater than that. And like I said, this goes back to a Bible verse: fear and love can't exist in the same space. So I stay in the frequency of love, man. It's like it's understanding that, you know, I am love, you are love. It's a frequency, you know, and when you bring that energy to all places that you go, that's exactly what people will feel. And that's ultimately all I seek to be, is to be that symbol of love. You know what I mean? So that, because I understand what it does to people, it heals, and being able to work with so many various people, you know, in this space, it's brought me so much gratification and satisfaction beyond any of the things that I thought would bring me the ultimate success. There's nothing greater than saying, somebody, you helped me find a part of myself I didn't even know that I was missing. And it was inside me the whole time. I'm not telling somebody to go outside of them and seek something. I'm empowering you to realize that everything that you're seeking is inside you, and you know how to look out of that. So, yeah, once you get that, the possibilities are limitless. It's limitless. There is no limit as to where you can go. There is no cap, because it's really just mentally, where do you want to go in life, man? So, yeah.
And just to kind of elaborate before we wrap up, like, you might step into a new project, or you know, entering a new avenue in life where it'll create like some doubt, it'll create some fear. But when you really become more grounded and you sit with yourself and you understand yourself and you really understand like fear is just like just a thing, but it only becomes real if you let it.
It's lost. What they say, fear is love.
That's when your possibilities start to be limited, because now it's all in your head, right? But when you sit and say, yo, I'm focused on the present, I'm not focusing on what this is going to be like in the future, because I could map this out completely and you don't even work out, right? But if I'm focused on the present and putting my best foot forward every single day, that allows me to get there, man. But thank you for coming through, man. I appreciate you.
Let me just tap on that word fear. It's false evidence appearing real. It's false evidence appearing real. It's once again, it's one of those things, if you pay attention to that voice, it's not real. It's an illusion. So once you really take yourself into that place, is realizing like, don't pay attention to that. It's false evidence, you know.
No, so, that's real. That's real.
It's an honor and pleasure, man.
And then that's what you do, man, behind the scenes, to allow you to get to the higher self and accomplish the goals that you really set out to accomplish. So appreciate you coming through. Let the people know how to reach you. Obviously you'll be tagged in the video, but
no, absolutely, yeah. You could find me on Instagram. I am _The Alchemist. My organization, IamTheAlchemist.org, will be established soon. That's coming soon, and it's really just based on allowing people to get the resources that they're looking for as far as in the mental health space. And all of it is about allowing them to tap into their highest and best versions of themselves. So I look forward to connecting with y'all. You can just follow me. You can send me a message. Anything that you need as far as the meditation, the mental piece, or any type of advice, I'm an open book, man. But I appreciate you for having me, man. It's an honor and pleasure.
Appreciate you.
I know about ends like I know about God, and you know about sins. Don't let the dark drive out your light. Don't let the cops ruin your night. The memories you make beat the money that you spend. Hope this night will never end. Get it going, no time for waiting. Just ignore it, no time for haters. Pray tomorrow, embrace temptation. Throw your cap like you're graduating. Tell the driver you're glad you made it. Camera phones got you feeling famous. So much flash, we're illuminating the dark room, and